fucking rip. All right, man. We are riffing. We are riffing today for sure. Yeah, so today we are on episode 193. 193. Yeah. Zeb just went, wow, holy shit. Yeah, we've been cooking with gas for 4 years on this bad boy, talking water sports, man. Yeah, so we are man, I'm excited about today's episode, and I'll tell you why I'm excited about today's episode. Because I woke up like in a totally shitty mood and completely anxious and nervous because I had my first professional. Well, we did an onboarding call with Zeb here, and I know you guys are like, who's Zeb? Like, don't worry, he's not taking over our planet. Just roll with me here for a minute. Just hold on tight. We're going to go on a wild ride. It's going to be awesome. I promise you. But I had a meeting with Zebulon Consulting. And I'm going to let him explain what they do. But I want to just highlight that I woke up in a bad mood and anxious because we're going to go do something that I don't like, that historically like gives me anxiety, peeling apart numbers, looking at spreadsheets and data and numbers and money, and just getting in the weeds on pennies and dimes. I am a marketing and sales guy. I grow my way out of problems. That's typically how I do. My partner and frequent guest of the show, Steve Edwards, always says things are always easier when you have money in the bank, right? And at the end of the meeting with Zeb here, who's on the show today, I felt fucking so empowered, like so excited, like such a good note. And it wasn't fluff. It was real numbers and real data and real insights into some things that I have just turned a blind eye to my business because of that anxiety. And it felt good. I'm not going to lie. Like Greg talked to me right after. And Greg, was I in good spirits when we spoke today?
Yeah, you were in a very good mood today.
And the last month, what have I been like?
Been awful.
Yeah.
So we got in two arguments. The first time in 4 years, I can tell his stress level is definitely a lot higher.
Yeah. Because numbers are down, man. Like 2025 was rough. So that being said,
real quick, can I tell you a funny story?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, please.
You said spreadsheets, right? And it made me think of something funny. So one of my employees, he actually listens to the show. He got my former CEO, Trip Shock, a coffee mug for her birthday. And the mug said, "Freak in the sheets." And it had like Microsoft Excel logo in the background. Semi inappropriate, but funny.
That is funny. Yeah. And they're quasi woke. You know, your CEO is a little wokey, kind of liberalish. You know, you got to be very careful around those people. Me, freaking the sheets, I'm like, dude, come on.
She liked it. She thought it was funny.
Oh,
she did.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it alone.
It could have been misconstrued as inappropriate, but it was funny.
It's like one of those things I expect to see in an accounting conference. Somebody walking around a white mug with the green Excel, freaking the sheets. That'd be total accounting.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny though. Okay,
wild stuff. Yeah, I would have. I'd have been like, "Hey, man, you just drank acid, dude. I just put LSD in your coffee mug." And they're like, "What? That's not corporate at all." They're like, "I know water sports." Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I wanted to intro you hard, Zeb, because you put me in a good mood today, looking at our numbers, and it was not at all what I expected. I expected a lot of doom and gloom. Regardless of all that, Zeb Smith from Zebulon Consulting. Do we throw in the LLC? Do we take this as part of the branding?
Zebulon LLC would be the web domain. Yeah, usually just Zebulon, but we'll roll with whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'll do a consult with you on personal branding when this is all done.
Perfect.
We'll trade. Yeah. So Zeb, tell us a little bit about yourself. I really want to just kind of know, like, let's start from the very, very beginning, like the name.
Yeah. So Zebulon Smith is the name. So born and raised Gunnison, Colorado, mountain town, right in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, right? And parents were hippies, and so they saw the name Zebulon Pike of Pikes Peak, kind of set me up to be an adventure man myself. That's where Zebulon came from. So that wasn't the original business name. I started the practice in 2016 as a young whippersnapper, ready just to dominate the world. And it was Ascent Accounting and Consulting. And I actually went through a rebrand a few years ago. And the brand lady that I'd hired at that time said, we need to lean into your first name and just make the name Zebulon. So the company's name is now Zebulon.
Your tagline should be work smart, have fun, conquer planets.
So wait, so I just did a search on ChatGPT, and Zebulon in Hebrew means exalted one.
Oh, wow.
Tell you what, there's the exalted one today in my office, dude. I promise the first time me and my partner didn't fucking strangle each other over a spreadsheet, dude. Like I mean, you made magic today, dude. Like I walked out of that office. Normally him and I are just like, I'm just like, what the fuck does that even mean? And then he tries to explain it like he knows because he doesn't. And then I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, well, I'll cast that aside.
Hey,
I had no idea that you left like feeling that empowered. I mean, when you guys jumped off, Kayla and Robert were both there, and all of us were like, well, that was a good meeting. We're excited for this engagement. We didn't realize that, from your perspective, it was perceived that well. So that's exciting.
Dude, it was just huge, man. You distilled so many things that are so foreign to me in a palpable way that just like, and then gave direct, and like, look, all shit aside, like, yeah, Zeb sponsoring the port, and this isn't just some huge pitch for him, but I mean, it sort of is, just because like, I see a path, and I start to see like everything, like I kind of know, I got this gut instinct on the way everything works. And it's just like you like actually presenting it in a way that it's like, all right, this gives you like action items and things that we can do to sort of like move these gut feelings into actionable, measurable things that really will, change not just my business, but how I do business moving forward. So thank you for that, man. So
one thing, when we were talking about the name Zebulon, and you mentioned work smart, have fun, conquer planets. In college, I used to serve tables, right? I ran lots of jobs during college, but one of the jobs that I had was hosting at a local just diner, Greasy Spoon Diner. So set tables, put coffee out, get people's drink orders, do all the stuff. And then there was a group of sorority girls that were there from Missouri State, and I was at Drury University in a fraternity. So the working dynamics in that restaurant were fun. We had my fraternity team. We had a bunch of like indie type of people. They were running the back of the house. We were doing the front of the house. And then there'd be all of these college kids that would come through, and artists and stuff. But this group of sorority girls, they sat down, and I was like, hey, my name's Zebulon. What can get you to drink? And they said, Zebulon. I said, yeah. They're like, is that a Greek god? And then I got like so inflated, was like, no, but today it is. So it's funny you say that. Conquering planet. And then also my nickname, and my fraternity nickname in college was Zoltan. So if you guys remember, dude, where's my car? Zoltan. So that was the other.
No, I remember Big. Zoltan and Big. That's where I remember.
Oh yeah, Zoltan, the genie or whatever.
Yeah, the game. That's actually one of my favorite movies. Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Oh, I got a kid, like, just complete aside. We're going to get in the meat of the podcast, but we're riffing on names. I got to keep the riff alive. I got this. He's like our HR's like little brother. He's like 14, works under the table. We'll talk about that later, Zeb. But I was like, he's like, your name's like Odin. And then my son's name is Atlas. I'm like, man, you guys should start a fucking rap band, dude. Like Odin and Atlas, man. You guys are just like, fucking take over the world. So, all right. Anyway, all the bullshit aside, because we could riff for hours, and I love it. But so, first question, like,
we didn't hear the story, his background. He's just talking about background and how he started Zebulon.
Oh, do you want to continue to do that, or do you want to pick Zebulon? I mean, what do you want?
I want to hear how he got into doing what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So, I graduated college 2008, right during the great, 2011. So post 2008 recession. And when I was getting ready to graduate, all of our professors were telling us students, you guys aren't going to get jobs. So I ended up picking accounting for two reasons. It was the only profession that was hiring, right, and had that CPA credential right after. and all of the professors were really attractive. It was like, if this is a representation of the profession, I can get into this. So graduated college, got my CPA license, worked big firm, moderate sized regional firm out of Denver for a while, and then ended up moving to Durango, continued doing audits at that time. And at 26, I just wasn't feeling gratified doing for audits of financial statements and tax returns. So I wanted to help people, and I started my practice, which was local bookkeeping tax in Durango, 2016, I believe. A couple of the clients I picked up real quick were outfitters. So a rafting outfitter and then an ATV operator there locally, amidst like bookkeeping, attorney offices and doctors and all kinds of things. But I had a lot of fun with the outfitters, and I spoke their language. Good, solid people, family people, wanted to connect with the outdoors. I had really strong results on the advisory consulting front, which was my passion. It wasn't to do bookkeeping or tax, but it was to help operators work smart, have fun, make money, which eventually ended up being our tagline. So after about a year or two with those guys, 2019 came about, and right before the pandemic hit, I decided I was going to niche in the industry. So I think 2019 was the first time that I spoke at America Outdoors, started reaching out to some other associations, and then the pandemic hit, and we created the Profitable Outfitter Facebook group. And just real quick, because of the pandemic, we had hundreds of outfitters join that Facebook group, and operators were talking about what the pandemic was doing, how things were crashing, what were they going to do with logistics, all of this stuff. And I just provided a lot of free guidance and support in that group. And long story short, post-pandemic, now zoom forward, we are a national practice. It's myself. I've got 3 other employees, Corey, Kayla, and Robert. We've served close to 40 or 50, maybe even close to 60 operators across the nation within the outdoor tourism segment. Speaking at America Outdoors, Idaho Outfitters and Guides, Montana Outfitters and Guides, Colorado River Outfitters Association, the Port this year. We've spoken at ACCT and a handful of other state associations. So have developed the niche and the specialty within this very hyper niched, hyper specialized industry, primarily because we can help everybody work smart. We like hanging out with you guys and having fun. And at the end of the day, everything we do helps you make money. And yeah, we don't do any traditional CPA tax work. It's all that financial advisory consulting stuff that Kevin, you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I'm learning in this podcast, like my brain's going like 100 miles an hour, man. It's like, we're going to have to do part 2 firstly, because we're going to have to delve into like the outfitter world, like what that looks like, because of what I keep hearing, like you keep saying outfitter, and for us, that's water sports. And I just know that it's the same thing, but it just means it's a different, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like UTVs, ATVs, fishing guides. It's the same thing. We just call it something different here in Florida. And it's like, if you're watching this on YouTube, you get a huge smile on my face, because it's something I've been super passionate about, is reaching that audience and having that conversation. Cause I know that we're just not connected, but we all experience the same shit, because right from our first meeting, you're like, read this book. And he has me, I can't even remember the name of Big Profits Guide. I can't remember. I read it list audibled it for 5 hours, and just all these things just started hitting me. And during our first conversation, you're just like, yeah, I've heard this before. Like I've heard this a million times before. Like I'm not some special use case, but it is like another ungalvanized kind of niche that you guys serve out there. So I don't know. I'm just kind of tickled by the serendipitousness, if you will,
And for the listeners, what he's referring to is, again, the seasonality of the business, generating 100% of your revenue in a 4 or 5 month time period, onboarding 50, 60 employees in the month of April, offboarding them in August. The feast and famine when it comes to money in, money out, running super lean through the off season. And then we were even getting into smaller micro issues when it came to like the day-by-day operations and the asset management and the employee management and the types of employees that this industry attracts. I mean, in that initial just conversation, even before we decided we were going to work with each other, it was copy paste. I mean, what I'm describing in outfitting and what outfitting would be, the primary audiences would be like river outfitters. We'll have some paddle sport people out in the West. We've got ATV and snowmobile operators, all the same kind of issues. It's a different sport. It's a different activity, but only slightly,
Yeah. And liability issues, like, I mean, yeah, I hear it all over the place, man. Like the kind of connection there is crazy because sometimes we're just isolated here in Florida. It's just like the world we live in, jet ski rentals, parasail, snorkel, but really it is. It's all a part of the same thing. So yeah, now I kind of want to get into it a little bit. So just like top level, like when someone comes to you, like what's the first thing that you would say that like all of us share? Almost because what is it? Plato's principle, right? The 80-20. We don't have to talk about the outliers, but the 80% of us, what are the one thing that like almost all of us do? Would you say from like an accounting perspective, that's just like, yeah, here we go again?
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about accounting. I will mention, within this industry, we've got the 4 Ps, right? And we've got, as kind of usually the main issues or main pain points, if you would. The first one's not a pain point, it's passion. Everybody's in this industry because they're passionate about it. They want to share the great outdoors. You guys want to be outdoor yourself. You want to have fun, but there's a lot of passion that fuels this business. And it's really hard for external groups who don't have that passion to step in and do well with it. So I think that driving force behind operators and owners and employees and guides and everybody in this industry is everybody's super passionate about it. And because of that passion, you're able to ingest and tolerate a lot of the challenges and pains that most people don't have the stomach for. So greatest strength and greatest weakness at the same time would be this industry's passion, right? Following passion, depending on where you operate, there might be the other P, which is permitting. So a lot of operators that run on national forest, BLM lands, you might even be in like the Everglades, which would be a park kind of like the Florida area. You got to have some kind of permitting. And there's a lot of nuances and challenges and complexities that permitting. You operators know you're permitting in and out. I'm always so mind blown with how you guys know how to navigate those just so quickly, as well as like the execution of your deliveries. But then the other two are the ones that we step into and help most. The other 2 Ps are people and profit. And these are going to be those biggest pain in the butts, if you would, for the industry, right? The people element within this industry is it's a seasonal business. So you've got a lot of transient employees, right? You got a lot of people that'll come in and work on season, then maybe they have to peace out and go to the off season, which is a challenge in today's world. It used to work 10, 15 years ago, but now employees are needing more and more stability. So how do we create positions year round within this seasonal business that's really seasonal, that doesn't usually afford or have the capacity to grow and develop the people? So because the industry has been the way that it is, we lose a lot of really good talent. We don't retain talent. We don't do the needed stuff to develop that talent. And as a result, one of the things that we've created at Zebulon is the EDDI program. So the EDDI is it's a peer group that outfit owners and managers get together every other week of the year. We have an MBA level curriculum. There's collaboration, there's getting off an island, there's discussion. It also allows operators to, get off that island in terms of understanding the pains they're going through with other operators. But you have a hive mind, you have a big pool of really innovative, really passionate, really sharp people in this one room. It's where they're creating solutions for each other and with each other in a non-competitive market, right? So there's the people aspect of it, but its real focus is intended to build up those really strong manager level caliber individuals that our industry is typically lost to because we don't have big kid jobs. We don't have the sustainability or financial ability to support year-round positions typically. And then the final one is profit. So I'm getting to that, right? But because there's so much passion in this business and because there's been so many challenges within seasonality, typically the industry has sacrificed the profitability. It's had some margin profitability compared to other industries, or maybe typically people will ingest or justify low profitability due to their passion. Well, and that's something that we've been changing the tide of over the last almost close to a decade now, with helping people with pricing, with gross profit management, with understanding their overhead, with debunking guide math, and that we literally teach managers and employees the true ins and outs of their businesses and how they can be influential in driving that profit. So what we went through today, and one of those things I think you were feeling empowered about, is our approach when it comes to profitability. We like to start with that end in mind, get from the owners and those key managers, extract what is it that you need from this business, like truly look at what is it financially that you need for your future, for your retirement, for your savings account, for paying for your kids' tuition or whatever it is, defining that needs, backing into what we need profitability to be, and then to work our way up the profit and loss and make sure that we know how to drive revenue in a way that will sustain your business, sustain the seasonality, sustain the passion, as well as pay for what owners need to get out of this business, and start building in really good benefit packages and higher wages for managers and all of that to keep and retain and develop really strong talent. So super top level stuff there, but all of the meat and potatoes inside of that is the details that we get into, from our central data hub, the data analysis you were talking about, to pricing analysis, looking at weekend versus weekday demand, your product makeup, gross profit margins, and isolating those need-based prices that will sustain your needs within the business.
We're not even releasing this fucking podcast, and I'm giving your money back, and I don't want you to deport because you're a secret weapon, and I brought him to the table, Greg, and I don't want you to fucking forget that, and that's why this motherfuckers are all over this port doing round table presentation. That's why. Greg, right? How good is he?
Yeah.
He's good.
So, Zeb, I have some thoughts to kind of put us in some different directions on the show here.
Mm-hmm.
So I've helped a lot of operators. They said, hey, Greg, things aren't great. Over my P&L and give them feedback. And some of the things you just said are exactly, like profit, people. One of the things the common theme I see is that they keep their employees too long. When they need to let them go before the season's done, they keep them for the entire offseason. Well, I might need them for 1 week in the middle of December, or they're so good that I need to keep them for next year. And I understand that, but like you can't run your business to the ground just because there's one employee that did a mediocre job that you might need for next year. Hiring sucks. I get that. But it's a common theme that they keep their a seasonal employee on board just because they don't want to hire someone next year. And although I do agree that there's a large cost to hiring quality people, I think they said that, I don't know, it changes, but it says to hire like a really good quality person, it costs $50,000, or the churn cost is $50,000. I don't know where that number came from, but I understand that there's just a lot of cost to hiring and retraining people. Get that. But that's a common thing I see. The second thing I see a lot is that they don't price themselves properly. And I mean, it's great to have different price points per season, but I'm under the belief that you should have different price point almost per week, per day. To some extent.
No, wait a minute. I want to ref this for a second because I heard Zeb say one thing. I heard you say, like, before you go into the second pricing thing, I want to go back into the employee thing, right? Because Zeb had one point. You seemingly had a contradictory point, and you guys are both smart guys and you're twin brothers. So fucking Zeb, go. Let's smart guy fight. This is what I'm talking about. Smart guy fight.
No. And Greg, I think generally speaking, we're in agreement on that. So when we're working with that year-round manager, right? I think the issue at hand is that there isn't clear expectations on what those individuals will be doing, and clear expectations on what the output's going to be doing there at that time period, right? So everybody wants more pay, everybody wants more stable jobs. We want, and owners and managers and leaders in this industry are very generous people. Kevin, I picked up on that real quick in our conversation.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, they don't want to lose those people, and they don't want to disappoint good people.
No, and I think one of the beauties that I love about this industry is, you know, and I'm this kind of way too. Like, I will give my shirt away for the benefit of others. And like, that's just an inherent kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things that drew me so much to the ownership within this and how I related to. And so, and naturally we have this tendency of wanting to give. However, so we are a high support, but we don't have a high expectation of what does those rules look like. So when it comes to the general employee base, yeah, let's go ahead and monitor. Right now, we just had Labor Day weekend, right? And so this year was a slow year, and there was a little bit of an earlier drop off in August usually than what we were anticipating or hoping for. And this is a national trend. So where's that fine balance between keeping enough people on staff to have guides and to have staffing so we can maximize Labor Day weekend, usually that final pinch, but not have them just sitting on the time clock burning through the cash flow. And then after Labor Day weekend, how do we effectively get boats cleaned up? How do get gear equipment put away? And how do we get that nice and tight and done before, say, the end of September, and not let it have it go into November, right? So clear expectations on the timing and the offboarding of that key audience. Now, where I think you were calling out, Kevin, in conflict and what Greg and I are saying,
real
when we
quick.
start talking about those year-round, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that now my anxiety's back again. Great. I know you guys are talking about me personally, dude. God damn it.
Well, and it's we were talking about this, Kevin, too. Even the things that you face, the reason why you're so vocal and open about it is because, you know, that's what 90% of the audience is facing too. You're just not afraid to bring it forward and discuss it and air out the drawers about it, right? So,
well, your second piece, you were going into like another point. I'm sorry, I fucking totally derailed you, but I just couldn't I couldn't hold it in, dude, because I'm just like, I'm going through this fucking right now, right now, man. Like, there's some things I'm not going to divulge on air, but we could talk about it.
I went through this whole thing last year, and I mean, my company at Trip Shock, we're half the size because the industry changed. We went from having this phenomenal 2021, 2022 to literally business falling off a cliff. And I kept people on way too long because one, I was passionate about, you know, the success of the company, but also the realities of the economy, where I wasn't listening. So I kept these people on, good people that I have good relationships even to this day. But the reality is that I needed to make the decision, and I just balked at it because I was just hoping that COVID wasn't just a fluke, but it was. And that's a whole year of payroll that I just balked on. And I've learned a lot through that whole experience. Is that one is that I could find good people. If I had to let them go and hire someone back for that role, you know, I just need to have good hiring practices. But two is I had to really think, like, if I do keep them on, what's the ROI on that employee? Can I get them in a role, even if it's maybe a similar role? Can I get them in a role that they're going to actually produce, or they're going to save me a certain amount, or can I outsource it? So it really made me think beyond just like, let me just hire them or let them go, but like, what are the other options? Because some of them I did really care for. They've been with me for years, but the reality was that it was just a different economy. It was a different business environment, and I was just extremely slow to adapt, and I paid for it dearly financially.
So Greg, I want to acknowledge everything you're saying, right, too, and that this pattern and what you're just describing, we experienced as an industry. COVID popped, right? I mentioned I went off the origin story at COVID in 2019. I didn't go into what happened the rest of that. 2020 ended up being the first banner year, followed by 2 more banner years.
Yeah.
None of us believed. No, we all thought, okay, after that first year is going to drop off. No, 22 came in, 21 came in strong, 22 came in strong, 23. Some people bannered again for a 4th year straight, and some people saw the drop off. 24 was the first industry drop off. And we thought, okay, this is the bottom of it. Nope, 25 hit it one more time. So now we're in a position where we're 3 years in, and we had 3 stellar years or 2, and 2 or 3 kind of bunk years. And We also had a bunch of money coming in from PPP and idle. There's a lot of cash flow. There's an opportunity to invest, right, and to build this up. So we didn't feel the pressures. Well, we feel the pressures this year. On the conversation today, I showed Kevin, maybe I showed this to you in our last meeting. I follow an economic index that shows where our economy is. And you can see how when post-COVID it came up, and we ran at an inflated economy for 2.5, 3 years, and then it dropped and stabilized. And this is the first in the last 5-year period that's slightly under stable. It's still stable, but it hasn't crashed below to be a low economy yet. And I think the problem with that too is in that inflated economy, when I'm saying inflated, revenue was good, industry was good, but costs hadn't caught up yet. Therefore, it caught in an inflated economy. We experience inflation, and inflation is a trailing indicator to the revenue. And then now our costs are coming up. Now we're at this intersection, right? So to get back to the people, though, because we can start going down all kinds of routes with that, but let's finish the people discussion. So now we've got these people on board. We really care for them. We want to maintain them. Also, I think what we got to look at is what's the intended purpose behind this. We've talked about you guys as current owner operators, but there's a lot of the industry who's ready to exit, and they want to get out now because they've owned this thing for 15, 20 years, and they're part of the baby boomer phase. So how do they position their business to exit? Well, it's the same thing that anybody who wants to remove themselves from operations need to do. And that's to build up a strong leadership team or management team around you. So you as the owner aren't the only one executing, because then you've worked yourself into a job. You don't actually have a business anymore. You just have a job that you're running, right? So what's the intention behind those employees? And then what are the key purposes and reasons for those positions? And what is it that we need those positions to do? Generally in the off season, earn your keep, right? So we want you going after revenue. Revenue generation should no longer just be on the owner's shoulders. If you want a year-round position, if you want stability, you need to have influence in and ownership or accountability to that off-season revenue generation. Let's get after groups. Let's create systems to start building up new content creation. Right now, we're at a pivot point where Google and SEO is tanking, and that Google ads are no longer working. This hit us in June. I see Kevin shaking in his pants right now, right?
Dude, it's just like, man, get out of my head, Zeb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I fucking just turn off the thing, turn on the clock where you start charging me, dude. Because I'm just like,
Well,
this is exactly these are the conversations that are happening like before we had today, dude. Like, I mean, it's just like, and I'm just gonna go hard sell you again, right? But these are the things I know that are in my gut, and like right to content creation. I literally had this conversation with one of my employees where I'm like, yeah, you're gotta go out and shoot content. Like if you can't physically be on the ground, if there's not something that you do here that requires you like moving around doing things and not being in here, like I don't have any here. Like I just got rid of one of our offices. I'm like, gone. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do. Stand outside, mill around. Like no more milling. Everyone's done milling unless you're milling a machine part for a fucking boat. You know what I mean?
I can't tell you how many of our just Kevin and I's colleagues that for the past few years, they just kept their whole crew for the whole off season because they had the cash. Because they're like, I'm not going to worry about hiring next year. These people did a great job for me. And they literally sat around and did nothing. And then now that same crew for the past 2-3 years that were getting paid just to sit around and do nothing because it's off season. Now it's like, you got to do something if you want to keep your job in the off season. But what do they do? What can they do to make money? Because there's nobody in town in our off season. So they don't have the skill set to just transition into something else like fix boats and stuff. So it's a real interesting dynamic that a lot of operators are faced right now, is that they have great crew that they don't want to let go because they are really valuable when it's busy, but it's hard to find them something to transition to. And that's something that I faced because I'm a very seasonal business at my OTA. Like in off season, my reservation is there's no calls. There's not like a lot of things that I can't have them do content creation or marketing. They just don't have the background in it. And, you know, is it worth training them on something that they're not passionate about doing? Like that's a big thing too, is like putting people in certain roles where they don't want to do it, but it's like they feel like they're forced to because they want to keep their job. And then if the product is not good, and then you definitely don't want to keep them because now it's just kind of imploded. But you know, it's a weird dynamic.
So you guys are literally describing all of the pain points we address in our 1-year curriculum within the Eddy, right? So the Eddy is the Eddy is a leadership peer group that owners and top managers from all over the nation get together. It's an every other week meeting. So in the first week of the month, we'll have a curriculum delivery, and that's where my team and I, we're all CPAs and MBAs, deliver a MBA level curriculum that's specifically designed for operators and the pain points that we address, right? So, and then in the off week, we'll do a data share, and then we'll just have open dialogue where operators can connect and engage on whatever topics they're interested in, usually associated to what is most relevant in the curriculum we talked about. But within that Eddy curriculum, the first time it's usually the owners are going through it and maybe their top manager, and then we'll expand it into the other managers. But we have something called an employee ownership mindset pyramid. So at the very top, we have psychological owners, we have leaders, we have supervisors, we have employees. And then really what we are trying to do is we have the intention of training who might be your trip leaders right now into being effective supervisors. So what's that mean? Well, we get into leadership training on mentor mindset kind of stuff, high expectation, high support, looking at the Gallup Q12. And if you guys read First Break All the Rules, brought by Gallup, it's an employee engagement survey that really evaluates how engaged are your employees. The highest scoring companies have the highest profitability and highest employee satisfaction. And the tool itself actually calls out, where is it that you're struggling with in your employee base? And it's really slick from a company view of things, but it's also a really good way to educate and train your guides or your trip leaders or those prospective managers into how to be an effective manager, thinking through the components of how do we lead well and covering people's base needs, their individual contribution, teamwork aspects. And then at the very end, so we also do like an employee grading analysis that we evaluate the employees on how well they execute, how well they take ownership, how trainable are they cultural contributors, or are they bickering biddies and stealing away from our culture, right? So after 2-3 years, the operators who have been going through the Eddy and these managers have been training up, they're no longer just employees that are collecting a paycheck anymore. They're no longer just clocking in their time and getting paid. They're taking ownership of the company, the business's outcomes. They have a buy-in to the plan. They know how to earn their keep and the influence that they have on the bottom line, and they're seeking more profit for the company. And when they know, hey, we would like to have this equipment, we would like to have this investment, then they themselves can think about how much revenue needs to be generated to do it, and not just revenue to pay one for one, but to also cover the additional workman's comp, the additional insurance. Oh, the owners are going to want 10 to 15% cut off of this too. So let's incorporate that in the plan. We call that guide math. So, yeah.
Man, all right. I'm going to pivot the conversation here because you're a fucking sharp guy. Right? And I wouldn't just say that just about like our businesses, but you're sharp about your own. So I'm going to ask you a fucking off the wall question, but I'm first going to put my thesis out there. So I'm going to flip the table. And I'm going to look at your business model. So you have Eddy, which is basically a course, right? You have Zeb Consultancy, which is a consultancy, and you have a small team.
We have 4 people.
Yeah, small team, and it's a fucking great business model. It's monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue. It's like fucking ticks off all the boxes. You're smart. You're very well spoken. Outfitters, water sports. If you're just looking on paper, Is it a bad business model?
Well, let me tell you this. When I tell other accountants and other professionals who I serve and how we serve them, they can't wrap their minds around it, because this industry doesn't make sense. It's a high risk. It has 4 months of revenue generation. It's only in the black for 4 to 6 months on the high end, right? And then it's in the red the rest of it. This is a bad investment industry. And I don't know, maybe to me again, but it's the passion, and that's what I've always been attracted to. I'm passionate about it. I was bored working with doctors' offices and attorneys, and I just didn't relate to those individuals, but I related to this. And I also appreciate the challenge, the complexities, and I really care deeply for it. Now, you're right, we do have monthly recurring revenue. You look at all the marks, and I think the reason why it's evolved the way that it does is, I listen. We're also innovators. I got the America Outdoor Innovation Award this last year. I've been slated for the most innovative practitioner by the AICPA for 3 years running. That's across 431,000 AICPA members worldwide. So yeah, like, we're sharp. But the thing is like, I just ask questions and I listen, and we identify those pain points and we build things around the pain points, right? I knew profit was a pain point in this industry, so I applied my CPA to help with profitability. And it wasn't how to build a tax return. Nobody wants to know that. It's how do we make our business better? So we applied that knowledge to make the business better. And as I was listening and talking to owners, we go to America Outdoors, which, Greg, that's where you and I met originally the first time. And I asked them, what was the benefit of AO? They said they liked connecting with operators, and they liked sitting in on select people's presentations. I was one of those select people, and a couple others. It was like, oh, this is slick. I'm going to create what was called the Groover Gab, where literally they can connect every other week. That's a free service. It's still available. We still do that for people, but operators can meet now once a month, every week, and just get together, shoot the shit, and collaborate. But from there, we built the Eddy. So that's where I hybrided the education side of things mixed with the collaboration and accountability that AO provided. There's the Eddy. And then we haven't even talked about the central data hub, which you want to talk about investment at the beginning of it. I'll tell you about
I told you we're gonna have to do a fucking part 2, because like we're gonna have to do a whole like breakdown of like what outfitting means. Like I want to introduce our Florida operators and our regional operators to the way you guys do shit out there. So this is part 1. I promise you, we're gonna do a part 2, dude. Fucking yeah. Tell me what the central data hub is. Fucking sell me.
The pain point to the central data hub, you saw it today. You're already sold. You were like, oh, this is amazing. But the central data hub was the other pain point is everybody's like, man, we're operators. We're water sport operators. We're outfitters. We have a reservation system. We have a point of sale system. We have a dining system. We have a payroll system. We've got all of these systems, and we have 4 ways we generate income, but we don't know truly how much income we generate. We can't make sense of it. So the central data hub, we leaned into it's a Power BI environment where we dump all of your revenue data into a single system, and we can dashboard it. We can standardize it. You can see your retail and your reservation data and your restaurant data all in a single location. And so you get a true sense and pulse for where it's at. Plus, we layer in our financial planning analysis side where we set up benchmarks and we set up targets. So not only are you analyzing historical trends, but we do it based on those need-based targets I was talking about earlier. You need to generate an extra $250,000 net income in the year. Here's your price point. The Central Data Hub help gave us the data to hit those. And we now set targets to make sure you're going to hit that net operating income next year.
Listen, so the day before, right? Here's fucking like the craziness of the universe. Your parents were old hippies. We might have some other commonalities, Zeb, here about like woofy fucking. But the day before, I tell my partner, Ilya, before Corey calls me. So a little bit of backstory, right? So I don't even know how you guys find out about us. Your marketing director calls me and she's like, yeah, we're interested in sponsoring the port XYZ. And I'm like, yeah, tell me a little bit about your company. And she starts explaining what you guys do. The day before, I'm telling my partner, Ilya, I'm explaining what your central data hub is the day before, going like, this is what I want. I want quantity. I want price. I want fucking metrics and numbers on everything we're selling. Like, I need to have this data so it drives our decision-making process moving forward. Because right now we have all this shit and we're just going like, yeah, this does well. This is down. This is up. This is down. I feel this way. I feel that way. Like, everything exists on napkin math and in my gut. I need some pie graphs, some fucking explanation of what each thing is, like all of it, dude. And then you guys literally call me the next day. She didn't, I was like, Corey, I was like, normally this conversation doesn't go like this. Usually I reach out to somebody and then try and pitch them on the port. I'm like it was like 6 minutes in. I'm like, you're pretty much fucking hired. Like, based on what you're telling me, what you guys do, like, this is already a win for Zeb, because whatever sponsorship dollars you guys are going to spend, you're going to get back out of me, because I'm hiring you guys. Like, if all of this seems on the up and up, we had another call. I met Zeb and I'm like, yeah, fucking, we're hired. Done. Forget about it.
I got a question about your central data hub for the res. This is more for just my own personal, because I have a res tech. Are you using basically like webhooks to pull in data from the res techs?
So yeah, I said this was kind of there was a bad investment with this at the beginning, right? Yeah. So I had the vision and the idea, and everybody I talked to was like, oh yeah, that's easy to set up. Well, as you guys know, with this industry, nothing is easy. So I ended up spending 90 grand on a build out and just had to scrap it almost, and ended up hiring Kayla, who now her whole purpose is a central data hub. She was going to be Power BI, half of her responsibilities. The other half of responsibilities is what I had to hire Robert for. We'll eventually data it on. But to answer your question on the data hub, no, what we do is we do CSV exports out of the system. We bring it into a Azure Blob data storage. She's done all of the workflow management. So we really have connected with a lot. We've created workflows out of a big amount of the reservation systems in the outdoor recreation side of the industry, which is what water sports include. And we would like to eventually get to the point where we have webhooks coming in, but right now it's just easy enough for us to do those exports on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah, initially I was like, I can do this. I was like, ChatGPT. We're gonna connect Fair Harbor and Rental HQ, and I was like, I'm like, first of all, I'm on a typewriter, so what I'm doing, like ChatGPT. I'm like, I'm a fucking functional illiterate, dude. You know what I mean? And I think in my brain, I'm like, so I'm gonna go to the next smartest guy. I'm like, Ilya, here's what I need. And it's like the next, and Ilya's looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Who is this? I'm just like, they've already built what I need, dude. Like, I know what I need. I know what I want, like, fucking, and this is it. And then today on our first call, I'm just looking at him like, this is like the fucking in my brain, the master. He always likes to say, because I'm not so techie, he's like, oh, you always think there's just some magic button you can push. I'm like, yeah, dude. And it has a few zeros tacked onto the fucking end of it. But you're absolutely right. There is a magic button out there. We just haven't found it. And in this particular circumstance, it found me, man. So, and I got to touch on one other thing, by the way. Nice job. Value all the like the information you brought on the show, but then also selling, like, fucking good job, dude. Like, we have the Eddie program. Like, I love, this is what I try and tell all of our presenters to do. Like, yeah, like, give them a ton of value, but also tell like why you can fix their fucking problem, dude. So it's like, I'm just gonna come work for you. I'll shovel snow out of your driveway in Durango because I fucking love that place, man.
Well, we're getting to our 50-minute mark, but
no cliffhanger, dude. We're gonna have a part two.
Okay, we're gonna do a part two. But 100%. before we leave, Zeb, people that don't listen to the part two, which I hope they all do, just tell them how they can get in touch with you and where they can find more information about Zebulon Consulting.
Yeah, no, the best place to find more information is go to our website, ZebulonLLC.com. It's ZEBULONLLC.com. You can reach out to me directly. My email is zeb@ZebulonLLC.com as well. And then we have a team at Zebulon, and everybody's got access to that one. So that one's watched more regularly. If it hits my inbox, it might be a little bit delayed, but yeah, I mean, happy to chat with anybody that just needs support, has questions. Also, we have the Outside In Crowd Facebook group. So I know you guys have a Facebook group with the Awkward Watersports Guys. The Outside In Crowd is owners and operators and managers, similar capacity. That's the one that we run. So invite everybody to check into that.
What's it called again? Outside, inside, what?
Outside In Crowd.
Outside
In crowd.
And Kevin, I don't know if you think about this, but we should have when people listen to this show, we should have them maybe submit some questions, and then on the next two-parter, we can have a segment where we ask Zeb some questions from our community about, consulting. Well, not consulting, but just like business questions, profitability, and people, passion stuff we talk about in this show. That'd be really good. That'd be really good.
Should I fire this long-term employee or take a pay cut myself, Zeb?
Yeah,
those are the good. Yeah. So anyways, that could be good for the part 2 to have a segment where we kind of answer some audience questions. But anyways, well, Zeb, we look forward to the second part. Probably be the following week after this show. I'm not too sure exactly when this show will go live, but when we do the part 2 will be the next week. But you'll be at the port, you'll be presenting. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, watersportpodcast.com is where you can get your tickets to the show, October 20th through the 21st. All right. Well, with that said, as always, keep it awkward. Zeb, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Greg.